Hi everybody, Dr. Mike here. The sympathetic nervous system is a subdivision of our autonomic nervous system and gets stimulated in times of fight or fear in order to keep us alive in that moment. It is stimulated to maintain homeostasis in that moment to keep us alive. And we know that the things that happen when we get scared, our heart rate increases, the contractile force increases to pump more blood and oxygen around the body to the muscles so that we can fight or run away. Our airways relax and open up so we can get more oxygen in to be delivered to the blood, to be delivered to the muscles of the body, again to fight or run away. Our pupils dilate so that we can see more around us, more light can get in and we can see any potential attackers around us that may come and get us. So many different things happen. The blood vessels in the periphery of our skin, they constrict to shunt blood or redirect blood to deeper parts of our body like the skeletal muscles to again fight and run away. And that's good as well because if you get cut or damaged, you're less likely to bleed out. So there's many different effects that happens in the body when you activate the sympathetic nervous system. And when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, you already know that the neurotransmitter that is released is going to be that of noradrenaline. And we know that noradrenaline is how I say it here in Australia, but if you're in the United States, you may say norepinephrine. I won't try the accent because I'm not very good at it, but norepinephrine. Now that's the neurotransmitter, but we also know that the sympathetic nervous system, it speaks to the adrenal gland that sits on top of the kidneys. And adrenal, on kidney, is also the prefix for adrenaline. So the adrenal gland also releases adrenaline. So that's also something we need to talk about, adrenaline, which, again, American, epinephrine. So here we've got the neurotransmitter and the hormone, noradrenaline or norepinephrine, adrenaline and epinephrine. All of these will bind to very specific receptors called adrenergic receptors. And there's a number of different adrenergic receptors. There's A1, A2, B1, B2, and B3. In actual fact, it's alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. We're not going to talk about beta 3 because these receptors are found on adipose tissue and aren't relevant to the sympathetic effects we want to talk about. So we're just going to talk about alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2. I want to go through a cheat sheet to make it so easy for you to understand where they are and what they do. So the first thing you need to do is this. Write up alpha 1. Beta 1, alpha 2, beta 2. Then draw a box around those ones, draw a box around those ones. Then underneath this one, write stimulate. And then under this one here, I want you to write inhibit. Inhibit. All right. Next thing is this. Where can we find these different receptors? So alpha 1, actually let's start with beta 1. You will find beta 1 at the heart and you'll find it at the juxta glomerular cells. Where's that? That's at the kidneys, remember? If you haven't read up about the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, I've done a video on that. Make sure you have a look. So that's where you find beta 1 receptors. In every other smooth muscle, gland or organ, that's relevant to the sympathetic nervous system, mind you, this is where you're going to find alpha 1. So all smooth muscle, glands and organs relevant to the sympathetic nervous system, outside of these two, you're going to find alpha 1. Now beta 2 is exactly the same as alpha 1, right? You will find it in all the relevant smooth muscle, glands and organs relevant to the sympathetic nervous system. Alpha 2 receptors you'll find at the presynaptic terminals of sympathetic neurons. Again, all of this is in the context of sympathetic nervous system, right? Fight or flight. So you might be thinking, wait a minute, does that mean all smooth muscle glands and organs of the sympathetic nervous system have A1 and A2? Not necessarily, but we've got to look at this, stimulate and inhibit. So think about it like this. You have a sympathetic response. You want an organ to be stimulated or inhibited to do or not do its function to keep you alive in that moment. You might be thinking, what are you talking about? All right, when I get scared, I walk across the street, nearly get hit by a bus. What happens? Heart rate increases, contractile force increases, so the heart gets stimulated to do its function. But also, my airways will relax and open up. They dilate, and that means the muscles relax. So the muscles are inhibited. They open up. So there needs to be receptors that tell some structures to not do their function. And that's going to be beneficial in that moment to keep you alive. Hopefully that's starting to make sense. Now we can apply this, right? So let's think about it like this. We now already know that your heart will contain beta 1 receptors to increase heart rate, and increase contractility. Increase heart rate and increase contraction. Perfect. Beta 1 receptors, done. Heart's done. Juxtaglomerular cells are cells located at your kidneys, specifically at your nephrons, where it starts to filter stuff and it picks up pressure changes and it picks up concentration changes of salts and is actually responsible for maintaining long-term blood pressure. Juxtaglomerular cells release something called renin. Renin stimulates this whole cascade, the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. All of these things are involved to increase blood pressure and increase blood volume. So the way I think about it is beta 1, think beta 1, heart, blood pressure, cardiovascular. That's how I think about beta 1, right? So heart rate, blood pressure, blood volume, contractile force. That's beta 1. Now every other tissue and gland or organ of the sympathetic nervous system will have alpha 1 that we need to stimulate. So think about it. What do we need to stimulate? Well, we need to stimulate certain blood vessels to constrict, like the blood vessels in our periphery. So we're going to have blood vessels in our skin that we need to constrict alpha 1. We need to tell these blood vessels, again, this is peripheral. We need to tell them to constrict. Wonderful. What about over here? What do we need to tell to relax? Well, we said it before, right? Your bronchioles, your airways, we need to tell them to relax. So beta 2 receptors are found in our airways, but when I throw adrenaline and noradrenaline at it, it doesn't stimulate it to constrict, it tells it to relax and open up. Think about it here. I throw adrenaline or noradrenaline at beta 1 receptors, heart rate goes up, contractile force goes up. I throw it at alpha 1 receptors, your peripheral blood vessels constrict. I throw it here at the airways, they relax. Your presynaptic terminals, you're probably thinking, what's going on? Well, remember, your sympathetic nervous system is a 2-neuron chain, right? One neuron located in the central nervous system, then it shoots out of the spinal cord, either at the thoracic or lumbar level, and then it speaks to a second neuron called the postganglionic neuron, which then talks to the structure. What is it doing? Well, the presynaptic terminal, if alpha 2 receptors are located here, so that if I throw adrenaline or noradrenaline at this particular area, it inhibits it from sending a signal. So it's negative feedback. It means, so negative feedback, it stops the sympathetic nervous system from having too great of an exaggerated effect. And so you usually find these in the central nervous system. So important central nervous system structures like the hypothalamus, for example, you're going to find alpha 2 receptors to inhibit the sympathetic response. There always needs to be some degree of negative feedback. But you also find alpha 2, funnily enough, at the blood vessels, right? So you can find them at the blood vessels as well to inhibit them, to tell them to relax. Certain blood vessels need to relax, right? So this is hopefully a helpful cheat sheet when it comes to, all you need to do is think, okay, what organ is activated and inhibited in a sympathetic response? And then you can reverse engineer it and try and fit it in. So hopefully this helps. Hi everyone, Dr. Mike here. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. We've got hundreds of others just like this. If you want to contact us, please do so on social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Dr. Mike Todorovic, at DrMiketodorovic. Speak to you soon.